as I said, it's overshadowed by a very, very bad injury to Raul Jimenez, fractured skull. Now, this has led on to many debates. You might have seen it on Match of the Day. Do the FA, Premier League, England need to do more about head injury decisions? Because when rugby do it, they have a man come off, I believe, and then they bring another man on. And then when the other man's ready, bring him back on. So people are saying, should we have another substitute for that type of scenario? Or do we just keep it how it is? But for me, something has to change. What about you, Joe?
I don't think they should have a separate sub. There should be a rule. If it's a head injury, the player needs to get off the pitch and get assessed. But they shouldn't have an extra sub for it. You bring your subs bench, and if something happens and you're not prepared for it, you're not prepared for it. You might have to put on a midfielder in a defender's position or something. But that man should be taken off because he could have a concussion or anything.
Yeah,
It needs to be assessed by a professional. But him fracturing his skull couldn't have been helped by like a different set of rules. It was just an unfortunate accident, but obviously it's a really bad accident, but they couldn't really be changed by a new set of rules. So,
Alex, what's your opinion on it? Because I've heard a very mixed debates and like thoughts this week, especially with Alan Shearer on Match of the Day. So what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, it all depends on whether like the FA or whoever's controlling it regards a head injury as different to any other injury, because like if someone maybe rolled their ankle and had to go off, we would see that as a substitute. Like they'd have to bring on a substitute to replace that player. And I mean, it is a completely different injury. Like one of them like might be out for the whole season, and one of them might just be out for the rest of this game. But in theory, they're both the same thing. They're just getting injured and they have to leave the pitch. And for that, I think I probably agree with Joe. Like you should be ready for stuff like this to happen. And in any other scenario that's not a head injury, you're expected to have the player on the bench you can bring on for the person who's got injured. So, yeah, I probably agree with Joe in this, that it is a head injury and it should be like treated with as much caution as possible. But I don't think it means that you should be given an extra sub for it. I don't think that should be taken into account. So
maybe you should be allowed to bring the player back on after they've been injured.
It
has to be that player.
That's what I was.
That's what you're on about.
I didn't specify. I should have specified. Sorry. Yeah, that was what.
Yeah. Maybe I think there could be a rule where you could bring a player on to, like, fill in with a gap where the player's hurt his head, and you should be allowed to bring him back on, but it has to be that player. You can't put on a tactical sub by using a head injury.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah.
So you would both consider doing that if you were part of the FA?
Yeah, just bring them.
Yeah, just for safety.
Yeah. Well, do you reckon it will happen? Because we know the Premier League and FA are very slow in some of these decisions.
I don't think it'll happen this season. Maybe. I'm not sure. It's a very serious injury, so you don't know how quick they're going to move. But if it hasn't changed before, I don't think it will change particularly quickly now.
I think if another incident like this happens, it'll probably happen sooner rather than later. But like if there was an eye-opening situation, it was probably this one from Raul Jimenez. So.